So we're going to have an unboxing and a look at the Swell Variable Speed pump. And then we're going to look at, no, not this head height, what you need to think about when you're ordering your new pump. Welcome back to Orchard for another one. So we're at that time of year where I'm sure loads of people think about the new season, got new pump builds in their head, new plans, upgrades, etc. So I thought it'd be handy to show you the unboxing of the Swell UK Variable Flow pump. Now this is basically the same as the Evolution Aqua pump without the branding on it. You don't get a fancy box and it's red instead of blue. I've got a couple of these pumps, pretty good. So straight into it, as you can see, you get the fittings that you need to get: two pressure type fittings, and you also get one hose tail type fitting if you want to fit it under the water. You get the pump control unit, which is where you'll plug this in, you'll alter the flow, the speed, the power that goes to it, and then obviously you get the pump itself and you get the cage with it to run it underwater, or you can run it dry, and you get the 3 seals that go with it. So here it all is out of the box. So like I said, you've got, this is the 20,000 litre per hour unit. They do 2 other ones. There's a 10,000 and there's a 35,000 litre per hour. They said you get everything with it. You get your seals, you get the adapters, 2 pressure fittings and 1 hose fitting. You get the cage with the pump, so the pump itself can be run dry. You get the cage you can put at the end of it. Your variable speed unit, which is where you change all of the settings to it. The washers, as I said, which will obviously keep it watertight. But the threads, these are your pressure fittings. And then you'll also get the hose tail, so if you want to run it underwater you can put a bit of flexi pipe on as a bit easier. So what I want to look at is what they can refer to as head height and how these pumps are measured or advertised, sorry, when you purchase them. So as I said, this one is advertised at 20,000 litres per hour. What that means is it can in theory move 20,000 litres of water per hour through your system. However, manufacturers, they do this measurement at 0 head height. So when we say head height, that is literally the top of this unit. You can see now where the thread is. That is where it's measured from. So the 20,000 litres an hour basically is if a pipe came straight back off that as the return. That would be 20,000 litres per hour. So for every bit of distance that you add between the pump and where it's returning the water in terms of height, you will reduce the flow of the pump. And this is what is referred to at head height. So this is your waterfall or your pond, and you are pumping water from the bottom of this pond into the filter system, and then from where the filter system sits to return it up at this height, this could be about 2 meters. Your pump flow will be reduced. So if it started out at 20,000 litres an hour, it will be considerably less because it has had to pump it, let's say, 2 meters higher than it is designed for or advertised as designed for. So this is something you need to consider when you are purchasing your pump and when you're sizing the right size pump for your system. So you might look at a pump and think, yep, 20,000 litres an hour. If I run that at whatever speed, I can get my system turning over 2 or 3 times. If you haven't taken into account how much the flow can be reduced, now there are other things to consider like pipe size, diameter, etc., which gets into friction. I'm not going to cover all of that because that gets far too complicated. I'm just trying to do a sort of general rule of thumb to give you some capacity for headroom. But if you choose a pump that you think is enough, just about for what you need, and you don't take into account the head height, you'll then find that your flow is considerably less and you're not getting your system turning over as you want it to. This isn't a discussion on how much flow you should have in a pond. This is just things to think about when you do look at your pump that you need and what flow you're aiming for. So in my case, I've gone for the 20,000 litre per hour pump because, as you can see, at 2 meters head height, the 20,000 litres has already reduced to 12,000 litres per hour. So that's without taking into consideration the distance or any length of pipe or any other pieces of equipment that I'm going to push through and reduce the pressure even more and make the pump work harder, like UVs, etc. So that's what you've got to think about. If I'm going to go even higher, you can see again, as the higher you go, we get to 3 meters, you reduce the litre per hours again, all the way up to, I think this has got a 5.5 meter head height, this pump, as a maximum that it can run. But you can see at 5 meters, it's reduced to 1,000 litres per hour. So you're talking a very, very small flow rate. So my system's going to be roughly about 5,000 to 6,000 litres. I'm aiming in my head for a 1.5 turnover every hour. So I've spec'd it that I'm going to be roughly probably around about 1.5 meters, I think, plus other things that will be going through. So then I've got capacity to be able to water the speed myself. Little point in buying a variable speed flow pump, in my opinion, if you're going to run it at full power all the time. You've bought the variableness for a reason, to be able to control it, to give yourself some scope for change. And that's without considering things like the bigger pumps use less power at lower speeds. Anybody who watches Righty's channel, you've seen him covering this. If you haven't, go check them out. He goes into quite detail on that. The pumps themselves, I think across me and my dad, we've got, this will be the 4th one we've got. We've had no problems with any of them. Like I said, they are the rebranded EA unit. Works really well. You get everything you need, and they're a good bit of kit. And they're cheaper because they've got no branding on, so why don't save some money if you can't? I did pick this up for £201 with free delivery. And now I've got scope to be able to change my system about, and the pump can be altered to reflect the changes that I've made. You've always got that balancing act between the price of your models versus running costs, etc., and future usage. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with a 10,000 litre an hour pump, depending on what system you're going to run it on, but it's just about thinking what suits your needs. And with anything like this, whether you're building a pond from scratch or you're upgrading, you're always best off trying to think of future usage, because we always all want to go bigger and we want to add stuff on, so give yourself some headroom. I will be covering how I fit this when I put it on the 2 easy ponds, which you see from the last video, and some other bits I'll be adding into that system, so I'll cover that off, how I connect up the connectors. I'm not going to be using the hose tail, it's going to be the pressure fittings onto a pipe and solvent weld. But again, hope you found that useful, guys. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.